Dynasty fantasy football owners. Week 4 of the NFL is in the books, and we're back here with our segment called Speed Trading. We know a lot of you are looking for trade advice from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective, so I have a list of players that I'm going to ask the guys if they would either trade for that player or trade away that player from a Dynasty fantasy football perspective. And if you have any players in your Dynasty league that you're thinking about trading for or trading away, definitely comment them below so we can give you our advice on that. Welcome back to Front Office Pros for our next edition of Speed Trading, Week 4. All right, on the docket first, we have quarterback Kyler Murray. Steve, are you trading for or trading away?
Yeah, so I know this is typically you want us to say for or away, but I think Murray is a player that I'm actually going to hold. I wouldn't trade him away or trade for him at this time. He's been inconsistent. You've got DeAndre Hopkins coming back. I think he could. He's got a couple soft matchups. I think he could do really well. My hang-up is, in our league, you've got to pay him a huge contract, and I wouldn't be willing to pay him that huge contract. So I would eventually want to trade him away. But in the meantime, and especially for this season, I think it's okay to continue to roll with him. So I'm going to say hold for now.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Steve. I mean, I would say right now it's probably not a good time to trade him away because I don't think you could maximize his value. But I eventually, like you said, would trade and move on from Murray. Just a matter of waiting for maybe him to have a couple of good games so you can really kind of maximize his value when you do trade him.
Makes sense. All right, next player, tight end, George Kittle.
This is a tough one. I've been back and forth on this one, Joe, but I'm actually going to say trade away. Mind you, I wouldn't. He's been really bad. I didn't realize how bad he was in the past 8 or so games, honestly. But I wouldn't sell him low. Like if someone's offering you, Tyler Conklin for him, I'm not going to do that. But I would be interested in trading him away if I'm getting at least somewhat good value for him. So at this point, I'm trading away.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Steve. I think I'd be looking to trade him away as well, especially in a dynasty league. I mean, Kittle usually misses a few games pretty much every season. You can almost bank on it now. You sent me that stat and only 1 touchdown in his last 6 games, I think. That's kind of crazy. I mean, everyone's making a big deal about Kyle Pitts only having the 1 touchdown, but nobody's really talking about Kittle. So it was kind of interesting. Yeah, like you said, I wouldn't sell low on him, but if I could move him and get decent value back, I think I would.
Well, the other thing too is, Kittle's a really good blocker. I mean, the Niners they do a lot of running plays. He's a great tight end. He's getting older. Especially from a dynasty perspective, he's a name. You could get something good out of him.
Yeah, well, especially if the 49ers offensive line stays that as bad as it is right now.
They need him.
Block.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, next player, running back Josh Jacobs.
So that's a Josh Jacobs owner. This is probably might be one of the highest, in the graph chart that's been going like this. I think he's probably at the highest peak of the roller coaster here, and I would trade him away. I don't think that the Raiders, the Raiders are such a screwy organization. Maybe they would, even maybe not accepting the 5th-year option, and then they end up paying him and they end up believing in him and giving him the rock. I kind of doubt it. So his future is so murky right now. But I guess what I should say is I think you should hold and possibly trade him away closer to the deadline if you're out of it. Because I think after this season, he's not going to be someone you can rely upon.
Yeah, I'm looking to trade him. I mean, he just had a really big week. You might be able to get pretty good value for him right now. For whatever reason, like we mentioned in our other videos, he does well against the Broncos. So I'd kind of try to maximize that off of the good game. I mean, Raiders are, McDaniels comes from the Patriots. They like to get multiple backs involved. Plus the unknown future of him with the Raiders. You don't know where else he's going. I'd try to really trade him now, possibly.
With how crazy the running backs have been this season, I think he's in the top 5 right now. Or at least he's definitely in the top 10. I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say where he ranks right now is pretty high.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, like you said, he actually was, even before the Broncos game, was getting a good chunk of yards per carry. They just weren't giving him the touches.
Yeah, he's fifth.
Bingo. Fifth. There you go. So I mean, looking at that alone, that might allow you to trade him away because people might just look at that and say, hey, I need my running back's not doing well. Kamara's been horrible. Let me try to get Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, how about a guy that's just lost Javonte Williams? I mean,
yeah, that's a great location.
Yeah, good trade piece then, Josh Jacobs. All right, wide receiver Mike Williams.
You know, I've been a big Mike Williams fan for a long time. You know, Joe, every time in my redraft leagues, I feel like I'm drafting the guy.
Yep.
It's so hard because he has those weeks where he can absolutely just go off, and he could single-handedly possibly win you a matchup because of the game that he had. I could see how someone could get frustrated, though, especially sometimes with the lack of targets, and he just completely disappears. I think it really depends on your situation. I wouldn't sell him low, but at this point, I think I might trade him away if I get good value for him. You just don't get that consistency week in and week out. You know, having a guy like Cup, for example, I know they're not on the same planet, but you know, for what you're able to get from a consistency standpoint, I just think I'd rather know I'm getting a certain floor of points versus just that huge range of points that he's providing. And in our league, you'd have to pay him and next year, and I don't really know if I'd want to pay him.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I mean, I wouldn't sell low on him, but if I could move him and get decent value for him, I think I would definitely trade him away. Like you said, I mean, especially in our league, I mean, he's coming up on his end of the contract here, and I really wouldn't even know what to pay him. I mean, he's such a boomer bust player, which is, you know, some of those guys are nice to have, but depending on, you don't want too many of those guys on your roster either. So I'd be probably looking to trade him away here.
It'll be interesting to see if Keenan Allen, I know he's on contract for a little bit, but once that offense changes, he's out of the fold, you know, what happens there? But from what we've seen in the games that Keenan Allen's been out, it's not like Mike Williams has dominated. I mean, he had that one game, but...
Yeah, the game against the Chiefs he did, but other than that...
The sample size is small, but he hasn't really showed that he's going to take over.
All right. Next player, running back Jamaal Williams, who's actually the third-ranked running back so far this year.
Pete, you'd be very interested to hear what we have to say on this one.
I am very interested. I am a Jamaal Williams owner.
This is my advice to you, Pete, as a rebuilding team. You trade him away right now. This is the time. This is definitely the time to get rid of him. His dad. I actually think that he's worth trading for, though. Like, if you're a win now team, I actually think it's not just, hey, you know, Pete's in this situation, sell him high. Like, I think that he can be a contributor the rest of the way, and especially with how running backs have been, to have him kind of in your stable of running backs, I think you could certainly rotate him in. So if I'm Pete, I'm reaching out to the Javonte Williams owner. I'm reaching out to the DeAndre Swift owner who may be wanting that insurance with him, kind of in the backfield, having him just in case he gets injured, because we've seen Swift has had injury concerns. And then I got one other target, but I'm going to have a little bit of a cliffhanger that I would say, Pete, I might trade this guy straight up for this player that we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I mean, if I had Jamaal Williams, I'd be looking to move him right now as well. I mean, coming off that game against the Seahawks, with the uncertainty of DeAndre Swift, I mean, right now is probably his highest value. I'd be looking to move him right now as well.
I've got him for this season and next season.
Tough thing is, though, Pete, you don't know if he's going to be back with the Lions next year or not. This is his last year of the deal with the Lions, so
who knows? If he might not. I mean, he's been productive, so I would think that he'd sign somewhere. But unless he goes, who knows? I mean, does Campbell still have his job?
Oh, Dan Campbell still has his job, Steve. Come on.
What would you expect in return for Jamaal Williams for his production this year? Like a first-round pick? Is that out of the realm of possibility?
No, that's too rich.
No shot. Okay.
No. I would say for a win now team that's in running back desperation, I would say at your peak would probably be a second round pick, but you're gonna have to give a pick yourself, a higher pick yourself. So in our league, if you asked for a second and you gave Jamaal Williams and like a fourth, maybe a third if you think it's worth it. Maybe you get a fifth back in return, so like a second and a fifth for a third and Jamaal Williams. I think that you could probably iron out a deal at that point from just a draft standpoint. I would say, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think probably a third rounder is probably the sweet spot. But like Steve said, if you wanted to try to kind of buy that second round pick, you probably could by including a pick yourself.
Or in our league, a bad contract. If you take on a bad contract, you might be able to get that second with not much of an issue.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Next player, quarterback, Matthew Stafford.
Ooh, I mean, I didn't really like Matthew Stafford going into this year. You know, you never know what buzz to buy into and what not to buy into. Obviously, they were talking about his shoulder, and it's like he had a baseball injury, and that didn't sound good to me from the beginning. But I thought they'd get Allen Robinson more involved in the offense, but that offense seems like it's got some serious problems. The problem is if you try to trade him right now, I don't know what you'd get for him. So I'd be more inclined to trade him away. I definitely wouldn't want to trade for him right now.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to trade him away as well. Just like you said, I mean, it's kind of tough to maximize his value right now. I think more than anything, it's not really a wide receiver problem that he has. It's the offensive line is horrible. They need to somehow get Andrew Whitworth on the phone and beg him to come back out of retirement. I mean, I just can't believe losing one guy essentially. And I know they've had some injuries, but like their offensive line is just absolutely horrible. I think like Kyler Murray, I probably would just kind of maybe hold him at this point if he has a good game or so, maybe then try to capitalize and maximize his value then.
Yeah, and I think I like how you're putting it that, Joe, because I think as owners, you do have to think about maximizing your value. I think it's okay to kind of tell yourself, I want to get rid of this player, but don't get antsy and just try to get rid of him just because I want to get him off my team. I think you have to be able to kind of go week to week and assess his value. And once you're at that point where you can maximize his value, like if I tried to trade Josh Jacobs before week one, I probably wouldn't have got very much at all. If I trade him right now, I'm getting way more than what I would have gotten in week one. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%. And I mean, it's not like Stafford's a bad player. I mean, the offense looks bad, but I'm sure they'll turn it around. I mean, they got McVay. He's supposed to be a genius. He's got to figure something out there.
All right, next player, linebacker, Shaq Leonard.
Yeah, so I'm going to trade for him. Obviously, he has had some injury concerns. Hasn't been able to start the year. I want to say is it back? I want to say he's had back issues, and now he's been concussed. But I think for me, he's just too good of a player. And sometimes when people get injured, people forget about how good and relevant they are. And for the Shaq Leonard owner, they may be concerned. Especially the guy in our league, he paid him a huge contract over the offseason and he's done nothing. So it might be an interesting buy because I think he's a really good player. So I'd say trade for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he's a talented player for sure. It's kind of, I mean, he's really tough. I mean, I'd love to buy him if I knew that these injuries like weren't a sign of maybe more things to come. I mean, I know he is a younger guy still, but I don't know. If I get the right value, I might move off of Leonard. I know he's been a great player, but like I said, I think I might just kind of worry about, is this like a sign that because he's played so much that is he breaking down a little bit or something? But maybe that's a little bit too much of overreaction with how he's been injured too. Who knows?
Next player, running back, Cam Akers.
All right, so this is where I'm coming off my cliffhanger, Pete. If I were you, I would propose a trade for Jamaal Williams. You could probably even get a pick for Cam Akers. So Cam Akers and a pick, for Jamaal Williams. I believe Cam Akers is at the absolute rock bottom of his value. That offense is a mess. Obviously, he's coming off that Achilles injury. He's looked okay, but he's having these weird issues with the Rams and McVay not saying that if he has enough accountability. It's a type of situation for a team like you that's rebuilding that if Cam Akers just absolutely bombs out, it's not really any skin off your back because you're just trying to get some talent in there and hope that he turns it around. Whereas Jamaal Williams, he's a great player right now, but for your window for winning, he's not going to help you with what you need to do. As for the owner in our league, he's relying on Akers to be a starter week in and week out, and he hasn't been. And on top of that, in our league, he was a first-round pick, so his contract is fully guaranteed. So if he really falls off the wagon wheel, you're talking about a decent amount of dead cap that you're going to have to eat. So I know you don't ever want to get to a point where you're really selling low on a player. You want to wait till his value bounces back. I think I'm at the point where I would do that trade. If I'm the Akers owner and I'm trying to win now, I do the trade.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. If I had Akers as well, I mean, the offensive line issues again, and with the Rams just doesn't look good. I mean, Akers himself, he's shown some flashes, just been far too inconsistent. I mean, the amount of touches, then even the amount of sharing between him and Henderson has been just weird. Like the Rams' utilization so far on top of the offensive line has just been kind of weird. But yeah, I'm with you. If I had Akers, I would have to strongly consider Jamaal Williams at this point. Really, if he continues to play and Swift stays injured, I mean, he could be really good and help me way more than Akers would right at this point.
All right, next player is DT Daron Payne or Daron Payne.
Yeah. That's good. You got it right the second time.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see, Joe, if he listens to us and sends out that trade offer. I'm curious to see if that gets accepted or not. And I'd be curious to see if others agree with us.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be tracking that one for sure.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so for Daron Payne, he's had
Daron Payne, Steve.
Oh, I said it. Daron Payne. Yeah, that's hilarious. I literally call you out for it, then I literally did it myself.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So he's entering into his contract year, and he has had a really good year. I would say trade him away, and my reason being is because I think he's looking to get paid. He's really showing out right now. And how much is he benefiting from playing alongside Jonathan Allen? Because Jonathan Allen might be one of the best in the game, if not the best. So, I mean, he plays at an incredible level. So having them both there, there's no doubt that he benefits from that. So can he continue that success? Because I think right now he is performing at his best clip. So to me, knowing that he could get paid and leave the team, I would trade him away. I think he could be a good win now player for this season. Just don't know if he's worth it long term, and I don't think I'd pay him.
That's interesting, Steve. I mean, he is on pace to have his best season that he's had at the moment. I mean, man, but he is only 25. I think it's kind of tough to trade him away.
Well, D tackles, it's hard to find a productive D tackle. So
yeah, that's what I mean. If I'm like you said, if I'm in a win now, I'm buying him 100%. At least guaranteed this year he's going to continue to be very good. I mean, if he re-signs there with the Commanders, there's no saying that he can't even continue to do what he's doing this year. I mean, the guy is only 25, got some good years left in him. Yeah, I think if I'm winning now, I'm buying him.
Real quick, the only thing is where I think he may not sign back with the Commanders because they drafted Fidarian Mathis pretty early. The Commanders did, and I wonder if they're looking for him in succession to take over for Payne. So I'm not sure that they will bring him back.
That's tough to say. I mean, this is Payne's fourth year, and he's just now starting to break out. I mean, Why not let Mathis just continue to develop under these guys?
And they could. I'm just saying, you always you have to. It's a game of trying to determine their value, and it's a game of trying to project what it'll look like. I could be wrong, but you got to make that call either way. I wouldn't blame either way. If you decide to, try to trade for him, trade away. If you're the owner, you hold him. I don't see any issue with it.
All right, our last player is wide receiver Chris Godwin.
I think I'd trade him away. He has had, I got to tell you, it's like every time he's on the field now, it seems like there's a play where he goes down. And it's like, oh no, what's going to happen here? I just, obviously, I think he's a great player. I wanted him in your redraft league, Joe, bad. Got really glad I didn't. I got spared.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. We don't know what's going to happen with Brady. Brady could be either not playing football, or I don't think he'll be in Tampa Bay. I think he's a talented player. At this point, if I could get good value for him, I'd trade him away.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I'm looking to trade him away as well. I mean, he has a name. I think that should give you decent value right there. But yeah, like you said, the injury history and everything really concerns me. So if I could, just get rid of him, get somebody younger, or get some draft picks, I'd be pretty happy with that.
All right. And if you have any players you are contemplating trading for or trading away in your league, comment them below so we can answer them. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and hop on board for some future videos.